Oh shoot. What? What? You want a lazy man warm up with me? Okay. Let me show you what I used to do when I would show up 5 minutes before Saturday boxing at Faber's, right? I was that guy. Everybody else is out there ready to roll, warmed up, and I'm walking in like, oh, 5 minutes before class, looking all fat and lazy. I ain't been there all week. Now, is that an excuse to be me? No, I'm just blessed, you know? But hey, here's what I would do. After I put on my socks and shoes, right? I would warm up the wrist. You always gotta warm up the wrist, especially if you're like me and you had a habit of not wrapping your hands, right? I went and bought one of those like hand wrap things that you slip on. Aside from the Friskies are Mando, right? And then I had the slip on thing, and then I didn't really have to go through the hassle of wrapping my hands. And even then, I would try to not sweat so much. I was. How's this? I was no Bruce Lee, but I heard who's he. So I could do that. And to keep things exciting, I was that guy that was moving too much. But hey, did anybody say Dominic Cruz moved too much? And so the Dominator, there's a reason why. One thing I wonder, why didn't Garbrandt finish him? I mean, we know he was definitely putting on a show. I mean, I wish I could pop lock like that. But why didn't he finish Cruz? I always wondered. Anyway, so now we do the elbows, right? Because you never know. You might overextend when you miss a punch, or somebody might move wrong. They might know like Wudong Kung Fu and suck in your punch, and then your arm goes like that. That's why Shaolin, they teach a consistent bent arm, right? But that's because, they're not boxing. So anyway, we do that. Elbows are warmed up, right? If you're sharp, and you can do the brain game, you would have been doing this the whole time that I was yakking, right? You got to warm them ankles up. Ankles and wrists are almost some of the most important things in the game, right? Because, it's like your wheels and your wheel. I mean, these are your wheels, right? So anyway, shoulders, right? And I would do this one. Right? And then I go forward, right? And while I'm doing that, sometimes I would do the diamond step, right? Because if you look, I'm getting just enough. I mean, in boxing, they don't really like that wide stance anyway, that old Taekwondo style, kickbox style stance, right? A lot of your stances are short. They're a little more square, right? So this right here is a good way to wake up your stuff, right? Something else, I saw Mike Tyson do this, right? He put on a demo, and all he did was a couple of lunges, right? 2, 3, right? And that'll wake your stuff up. Now, if you're old like me, certain stuff don't want to wake up yet, right? So you gotta slowly warm yourself up, right? One side works, another side doesn't work so good, right? So things like that, right? And then what else would we do? The neck roll. The neck roll's Mando, right? I would look up. I would let gravity do its thing, right? I hear all the kinks and the crickles, right? And then I would look this way, see something cracked, and then I would look this way. Keep in mind, I only woke up like 15, 20 minutes ago, and I would do the same thing on Saturdays, right? I'm surprised nobody knocked me out. One guy sat me on my ass, right? Go figure. He was like one of the smallest guys there, but he was fast as fuck. His capoeira was primo, right? And he was in the UFC, so I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about getting put on my ass by a UFC guy. Speaking of UFC guys, hey, Feely, my nose is crooked, you fucker, right? But hey, that's not 100% his fault. Somebody hit me in the face with a bag of books one time. Go figure, when you're playing with your friends and there's that one asshole friend who's waiting for you to get up, and then last thing you expect when you're all, is a backpack full of books, pieces of shit. But hey, the kids you grow up with, 2020, hindsight's 2020, right? So anyway, this is me, right? This is what we do, And but keep in mind, this chopping it up, this yakking, right? Sometimes you gotta do that too. When you walk into the gym, you go find that other old guy in the corner, and you try to have that re-spark, that camaraderie, rekindle that, hey, oh, you're old and lazy too? Well, they're not always lazy. They're just 20 years older than you, right? So what's my excuse? Anxiety, right? Maybe it's anxiety and being lazy and, sleeping in, right? But I'd stay up all night because there was people trying to break into the house in the middle of the night. And, or even not even break into the house, just pilfer shit off the yard. So I'd be up till 2 in the morning. That was when grandma would start stirring. Well, sometimes. Grandma had a funny schedule, right? But here I am. And then I would do a little bit of the Jenga, right? And I still, not even the Jenga. That's an insult to the Jenga, right? I'm now just doing the reverse diamond step, the reverse taikion, right? It's like a small Jenga, right? And I'd be here, boom, 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 boom. All of this right here, even this, I mean, that's waking up stuff in your back. It's not just waking up your shoulders, it's waking up your whole shoulder blades, right? And you'd be surprised. It's a subtle thing. You don't need so much to warm up. You don't got to be like some people and you got to warm up for a whole hour before you even get in rounds. Is that recommended? Yeah. But at the same time, I don't know. Some of us, well, I'm one of those guys where I get a little bit better the more tired I get. You know what I mean? I don't know. But anyway, so back to the reverse step. Oop, 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 oop. And then as you start to warm up, maybe you can widen it up a little bit. Right? I'm just kidding, right? But I'm not. Because as you do that low lunge, that low squat, you're getting endorphins warmed up. Your endorphins are coming up from them quads, from them legs, and all of a sudden you're like, yay, I'm going to punch somebody in the face, right? Now, okay, so what? Now maybe you'll warm up enough to where you can start to practice, some strikes, right? Up to you, right? Some people say, keep your elbows in. I think it's situational, right? Because you never know. I've had guys where they're coming in and they're punching, and I'm like, right? Or there's times where I'm out here, and then they come up the middle, and I'm like, oh, right? So it all depends. But either way, same thing. As you extend these punches, you're elongating muscles in your back. You're still waking stuff up, just things to be aware of, right? But hey, that's how I would warm up 5 minutes before sparring, right? For all you guys who are like, yeah, that's why I always looked like he was going to die afterwards. I was like starving myself for majority of my time training there. I was doing the intermittent fasting. My diet was terrible, by the way. No supplements, no additives in any way, nothing that I should have done. And nobody really took me under their wing. I was either too old or just not cool enough to put any extra effort into, right? Who knows? Clicks everywhere you go. But hey, that was me. I was that guy. Y'all remember.